Chris's presentation was spot on about a lot of how to build a great franchise. Now I'm going to zero in a little bit more about IAP and how you can really earn that money through IAP as the market's moving more towards more away from the days of you could charge $9.99. I remember, not going to happen anymore. So when we are talking about how to make a successful game for the mobile market, and we're talking about apps, it's really no wonder why they're so popular. You can obtain them anywhere, entertain for 5 seconds or 5 hours. You have access to them wherever you take your phone, so pretty much you have the opportunity to make money from anyone, anywhere these days. As these success stories about how you can make money if you're a large company like Com2Us, we have over 250 people in our company based in South Korea, or people here who are just one person in a development company. There are 100 that aren't going anywhere, but if you're prepared and you educate yourself on the mobile market, it's your best way for success. So a lot of people are confused about where am I going to put my game? Now, the main markets that we're looking at these days are the iPhone and Android markets. They're totally different. To sum up, the users and their general characteristics are very diverse. The iPhone market is older, 4 years since it's been out. Summer of 2007, consumers could access the iPhone market. The first commercially available Android device, however, was released over a year later, October 2008. So 1 year, over a year even, is going to change your markets completely. Right now, June 2011, there were 6 billion app installs from the Android market, and the operating system itself is installed on 130 million total devices. In our experience, to demonstrate what to expect from each market right now, we are going to share some of our titles and what we saw from them over the last few years. I'll be comparing 2 of our hits, Home Run Battle 3D and 9 Innings Pro Baseball 2011. Home Run Battle 3D was originally released as a paid app with in-app purchase on both the iOS and the Android markets. But Home Run Battle 3D saw a marked difference between the 2 markets. This casual home run derby matchup game got good reviews. Its gameplay style is well suited for the mobile smartphone boom. Social aspects such as games against friends and online randomized matchups are the main draws of this game. It had every making of a successful mobile game across both the iPhone and the Android platforms. However, our numbers showed a large disparity between the 2. Paid with IAP model worked well on the iTunes App Store because users are accustomed to, with another year of experience, and willing to spend their money on not only initial paid downloads but also buying IAP. The accumulated downloads of Home Run Battle, as you can see, the Android in blue is still a smaller user base, but also a lot of people aren't willing to pay initially for that paid download. As it stands over the last 2 years, that's how we saw it. Now here, as you can see, that the accumulated iOS downloads since 2009 allowed us to see the average revenue per user was averaging around $2.50. The Android market, when we looked at those numbers, indicated that the same number was only 78 cents. And so you can see that Android users are not spending as much as iOS users. Many would say these users aren't as valuable. In the past, they've said that. But free and IAP and ads is the most effective way to monetize these Android users. That's what everyone's saying, that's what we've found. But just these last few weeks, these last 2 weeks in particular, we've been watching the Android users' average revenue per paid user increasing. This means that this past trend is completely changing as Android users get more IAP options and as the market grows. Now, 9 Innings Pro Baseball was originally released on the iTunes App Store at $4.99 with in-app purchase options. The price was dropped to 99 cents, and in-app purchase items remain and are updated. The Android market got 9 Innings later, and instead of a $4.99 or 99-cent price point, we released it for free. The IAP remained just the same to see how that would do in the Android market. Now, as you can see, the numbers indicate that to make revenue on the Android market, free with IAP is the way to go. As you can see, we made a marked improvement of users spending money in IAP, and we got more downloads when it was free in that marketplace. Now, with paid downloads, they aren't spending more on in-app purchase on the Android market. This is unlike the iTunes App Store, where users are accustomed to that process and spending the most money overall. Now, here is the breakdown of the IAP over the two markets. The numbers indicate that to make revenue, like I said, free with in-app purchase is the way to go on both markets, but especially on the Android marketplace. With paid downloads, they aren't spending more on in-app, again, and as you can see, the average revenue per user is still pretty low on Android, but like I said, we've seen almost about 30 cents increase of the ARPPU over the last few months. Now, both markets do well with free games that offer in-app purchase. Android users pay remarkably lower out of pocket for content, and free games are the key to be successful in that marketplace and now increasing in both marketplaces. iOS users will pay more for content, and they're especially drawn to investing in IAP, which aids gameplay. You don't need to make a freemium game, but to make a monetarily successful title for both markets, it's wise to take these characteristics into account, especially if you're making a game that you want to go over both. Now, what sorts of in-app purchases do you want? We had a great hit with a game like Slice It. It saw paid versions on both marketplaces doing extremely well. This game did well in reviews. It's arguably come to us as most known game in the US and Western markets. Standalone puzzle games such as this are able to hold up to the fixed price point at this point in time. If you're making another sort of game, if you're making a franchise, if you're making something that can be updated with new maps, new content. Now, what you're probably going to want to do is think of a way to steadily earn revenue over time through IAP that boosts the user's experience. Now, for Home Run Battle 3D, if you're not familiar with it, it's a home run derby style, so not a baseball sim like 9 Innings. It's got cartoon characteristics, vivid color, and it's pretty over the top with the kind of purchasing of IAP that you can have. It's a mix, the in-app purchase in Home Run Battle 3D is a mix of power-ups and cosmetic options. Outfits like the Dark Ninja, the Gunslinger, or DeMarini Voodoo Packs, who we actually teamed up with to offer DeMarini items in-game, such as this. You can see it's very stylized. It works well. You can offer power and contact boost up to 84 points, so not only will it help the user when it won't just help them look cool playing against their friends, but it will help with the gameplay. The cartoon art style of the game lends itself well to more fun content options. The more outrageous, the better, because the main selling point of this game is the social matchup aspect. 9 Innings Pro Baseball, however, has in-app purchase packs that consist of cards that give you specific bonuses for batting, catching, team upgrades, and even better coach stats. The amount of IAP is extensive compared to something like Home Run Battle because you have people who are hardcore baseball sim players. They want to improve their numerical stats versus just look cool when they're playing against their friends. So knowing who your game is for, if it's going to be the serious baseball player, they're going to invest more money to have perfect stats. So the three main takeaways that come to us as learned about the mobile market as it exists right now. As I said, we've seen so many changes over the last even few weeks that in next coming months, it's probably going to change more and more rapidly. But you got to understand your main marketplaces and their users. So remember that iPhone users will pay for content in IAP more. However, they are getting more accustomed to the lower price point, and in addition, wanting free games and free content, and they will pay out of pocket for IAP. Android users will spend money on IAP, but the way to go here is free. It is changing, but if you do want to make any kind of revenue on the Android marketplace, it's definitely the way to go. Understand your game and what's it about. That's kind of duh, but gotta say it. The bite-sized puzzle game that can stand alone, you can charge for 99 cents, something like that. But it will be, definitely the prices will be dropping as you turn towards making your game available on all markets. So if you want your game in more hands, free is the way to go. Know what kind of content that you can charge for by knowing your users, and decide how you can offer content to users to best suit their needs and your games, not just charging for more levels or something like that, but know that with 9 Innings Pro Baseball, you're going to want to charge for content that's going to help the hardcore players want to invest time and money into your game. So, sorry about that. That is about it. So, any questions? Yes, I can't see anything, but...
I've got all 4 platforms, and I wondered, you've talked about pricing and free-to-play and freemium and adoption in the Android world. I downloaded a game, I think, yesterday about 4 o'clock on my Galaxy Android, and I got invoiced about 6 p.m. on my email, which I saw on my iPhone, and the game still hasn't installed. So the walled garden that Apple has is a beautiful place. I wondered if you just comment generally on the fact that Android is just very difficult to work with from a user perspective. It's not a one-click, head bang install kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I have to say that the improvements that I've seen in the Android marketplace have been pretty marked over the last few months, but I remember when I was first seeing the Android marketplace come out, it was very difficult to work with. The breaking up of the devices and not having one uniform device, one uniform kind of, like you say, a walled garden. They're very controlled. I think that it's becoming more user-friendly. They know they have to streamline the way that they communicate with their users, the way that they communicate with their developers, and that's definitely why Come to Us is there in this marketplace now as they're trying to make these changes, because I think that they're aware that that has been a problem. So early adoption and figuring out how the users are buying the content, accessing the content, is the way to go and change with it. But I see Android coming just big steps. They're taking a lot of big steps these days, and that's why we're in there right now, trying to figure out how to get the users to download as Android's changing. I agree with you, it's difficult, and I think the way to battle that is just understand it from the get-go as it's transforming.
Question for you, another one on Android, over here.
Okay.
How many different versions of your Android product do you have out there for Home Run Battle 3D? And the second part of the question is, how much of your code base is shared between your iOS and your Android products?
We have 2 versions of Home Run Battle 3D for Android devices. And I'm not exactly, could you repeat the second half? I kind of didn't hear you. Sorry about that to make you run around.
How much of your code base is shared between your iOS product and your Android product?
Well, I'm going to refer to Dawn, who might know a little bit more about the code. No. I'm actually not sure how much of it is shared. Can I have Dawn come up for a second? He might have a more eloquent answer than me stumbling over my words about this.
Okay. I'm here to help. So
Right.
the question was how much of a code base from iOS to Android?
Yeah.
So I think similar to previous presentation, we also have a technology underground to port over iOS to Android. Typically, we take about a month to port over from iOS to Android. So pretty much the code base are the same. So we're currently using the Android NDK, and yeah, so we have a technology that can convert the iOS to Android. And our goal is to actually release the game at the same time for iOS and Android market in the future. As Lydia mentioned, Android market has some problem, but I think recently they've updated their new market. I think to compare it with Amazon AppStore, I think they got a lot of shock after Amazon has released their App Store and much better UI, much better paid market. So I think Google team is working very hard, and I've seen the new UI market, and I think it's going to be catching up, and it's going to be appealing to better user experience. And also, Comtos has been working with Google for the in-app purchase system as a beta testing last year. So we were one of the first company to actually, when the Google released their in-app purchase product function in early April, the 9 Innings Pro Baseball was one of the first game to support the in-app purchase. And we're seeing great numbers. And although the ARPU seems very low, actually the AAR PPU, the average revenue per paying user, is actually, we're seeing high paying user rate for Android versus versus iOS. So we think the paying user from Android depends on the game, but we see they're as much valuable as iOS customers. So I hope that helped your questions.
Home run battle.
And just to re-verify, you only had to kick out 2 different builds of your Android product so far, because a lot of developers out there have had to kick out many, many different versions of the product, and it's kind of, from my perspective, said, well, stay away from that for now, because I don't want to be in the Windows marketplace creating all different
Yeah, actually,
derivatives of
2
hardware.
version was the paid version, the free version. I didn't understand what a version means. So it's only one version, and we've been updating the.
Okay, so you have one version of your application that runs on all Android devices.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That's right.
More of a technology question. You mentioned that you guys have technology to transform or convert iOS to an Android. Is this an in-house project, or is this something that's external or third-party available?
It is our in-house project. Yeah. Yes. Currently, it's not open to public or other third-party publishers. But we are also trying to work with small developers to publish. And in case we are working with third-party developers, we're open to use that API. Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Any more questions? I think it's right time to jump into Android market. I think so. I can't reveal the numbers, but I heard the top grossing the games in Android market is quite equivalent to top grossing in iOS right now. So I think there are many companies actually porting over the good quality games from iOS to Android, and we were one of the first companies to do that. And I think it's a great opportunity to work with Google, although there are so many glitches and many improvements to be made, but I think it's right time to actually jump over to Android and make a hit in Android market. Thank you very much. If you have more questions, please find me. I'm from Don from Contours, and Lydia will be out here. So thank you.